Hello everyone, welcome to Haberdashers Adam's entry to the Geology Challenge. We're doing the Willow project. The Willow project is an Alaskan oil drilling project by ConocoPhillips. ConocoPhillips is an American multinational company whose main trade is petroleum extraction and exploitation. They're based in Houston, Texas, but they have a headquarters in Anchorage in Alaska, which is where this is going to be based. Up here are some things about the timeline, but we're going to touch on the timeline later on in some other slides about politics. They originally found oil there in 2016 and eventually got permission from the BLM to start work there in 2020. To begin this, I'm going to go over the formation of crude oil, as I feel like that's pretty important to understand all of this. The formation of crude oil involves marine organisms dying and living over multiple generations, building up a layer of decaying biomass on the seafloor. This layer is eventually increased with pressure and temperature, which will eventually slowly turn it into a substance called kerogen, and then eventually oil and gas. This is what the geology of the North Slope of Alaska looks like here. The basement here is pretty much irrelevant to this, as it's just a basement from pre-Carboniferous, so there isn't really much there. And then everything here, it starts in layers from the Triassic to the Jurassic to Cretaceous and Permian. And as you can see here, this gas window where the oil has matured the most, so it's became a smaller hydrocarbon, so they're in gas state, or there's oil and those are immature, so that's going to be like shale extraction and whatnot. The reason why we can find oil and gas there is because Alaska has pretty much been in a marine, shallow environment for its entire existence up to date, from the late Carboniferous, which for some reason Americans have weird terms for, like the Mississippian, and then to the early Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. In preparation for drilling, the NPRA, which is the Natural Petroleum Reserve of Alaska, which was designated by the Bureau of Land Management as the largest piece of public land in the USA. It's roughly the size of the state of Indiana, and it's a key habitat for many wildlife such as polar bears and migrating birds, considering it is a massive area of natural wetland in the north of Alaska. In preparation for drilling, a gravel mine is being dug, and the gravel will cover 384 acres of land, up to 575 miles of roads, a central processing facility, an operations centre pad, an airstrip, 316 miles of pipeline, 7 bridges, and a water reservoir will all be built there to provide everything for oil extraction there. All of this will destroy the natural environment before the drilling even begins.
Okay, so in terms of short-term impacts, the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change stated that there's a rapidly closing window of opportunity to secure a livable and sustainable future for all. This isn't helped by the Willow project at all. So in terms of long-term, experts predict that 230 million metric tons of carbon dioxide will be pumped into the atmosphere, which is about the same as 76 coal-powered stations. Below are some issues that are already facing the world in terms of climate change and the greenhouse gases produced by the Willow project aren't going to help this at all. So in terms of a timeline from a political perspective, in May 2018 was when ConocoPhillips first requested permission to the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM. They originally wanted to build 5 drill pads with 250 wells, so 50 wells on each. In August 2019, the BLM scoped out the area, had discussions with 13 different tribal entities, and finally published their draft master development plan. In 2020, the BLM approved it for the first time. However, the year later, in 2021, the US District Court of Alaska challenged the permit for 3 different reasons, including not covering all the greenhouse gas emissions. Finally, in February 2023, they approved it with 3 drilling pads, which is 2 less than they originally. And a month later, in March, the Biden administration approved it. Shortly after this, Earth Justice filed a lawsuit against the BLM to stop the Willow project, along with a signature. This came after 2.4 million people signed to stop the Willow project. So in terms of positive human impacts, it massively boosts America's economy, as well as local, state, and national economies. In terms of construction, it will create over 1,000 seasonal jobs, and its peak when it's running, 400 operational jobs. Negative human impacts consist, it will produce 576 million barrels of oil. However, this can be viewed in a positive manner as it also offsets the impact that Russia-Ukraine war has had on the US in terms of their economy. They've stopped importing oil from Russia, and the Willow project which is going to help subsidise this. It's producing massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, as you can see. I'm not going to attempt to read out the number. It's going to require 10.6 million acres of land, which is being unusable as it's needed for drilling. Emissions are likely to lead to cardiovascular disease, which is shown by the town called Newswit, which is the closest town to the Willow project, and it's already seen a 20% increase in respiratory diseases.
These are all of our sources, as can be seen here, from pretty much every slide we've used. And that's been our entry for the 2025 Schools Geology Challenge. I hope you enjoyed that, and that's the end.